Who would have thought that a Star Trek video game ship from 2001 would be making an appearance in 2024? Not us, but yes, the Achilles-class starship has made a brand new debut appearance in Star Trek Online. The new Heritage Bundle introduces the Achilles Miracle Worker Heavy Destroyer. What do we know about the Achilles-class? Why is the ship so powerful that Starfleet just had to put it into service? Today we're talking about a ship that made its debut appearance in a 2001 PC game called Star Trek Deep Space Nine Dominion Wars. The Achilles-class, or torpedo gunboat, that could give the versatile Akira class a run for her money. Prepare for warp as we're diving into the deep lore and technical details of this formidable Starfleet starship class. Welcome to Trek Central. I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get into it. Before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. As always, please let us know your thoughts on this video topic in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. But quick, we've got a new frontier. If you like these videos, consider hitting that join button down below and supporting Trek Central directly. Becoming a YouTube member means you get early access to these videos, because you're a Galaxy class Trekkie. However, you also get to suggest video topics to us without the wait. Each month, we pick a suggestion from our members and turn it into a full video. Sounds great, right? Make it so and hit that join button today. Okay, engage. We previously did a video on the Achilles class around 2 years ago, but much like Starfleet, it's time to warp back to where it began, give it a fresh lick of paint, and call it a refit. So yes, here we go again. The Achilles class is a strategic heavy cruiser, developed specifically by the Federation and launched in 2373, non-canonically of course, in response to ships built by the Dominion such as the Jem'Hadar battleships and the Cardassian Hutet class starship. The battleships, as we know from the Deep Space Nine episode of Valiant, are 2 times the size of the Galaxy class starship, and 3 times the armaments. If you've not seen or played the game, here's a quick clip to give you an idea of what a Galaxy class looks like compared to the Cardassian designed Hutet class, which appears to be even bigger than the battleship. Just a quick disclaimer to ensure we're all on the same deck, when we say the Achilles is non-canon, that is because it was introduced in a video game. Star Trek canon is sometimes a headache, but it means that if it was introduced in a game, then it is sadly not canon. Only things introduced by the TV and movies, i.e. seen on screen, are canon in the eyes of Trek. So yeah, it's also up to your personal headcanon. I like to imagine Starfleet maybe had a prototype Achilles class. You know what, while looking at the ship class, I could sort of see it evolving into the Inquiry class we see in Star Trek Picard. Let me know what you think, we've got more on this in a second. The idea behind the Achilles was the realization that to end the war would be to shut down the Ketracel White facilities in the Alpha Quadrant. Without them, the Jem'Hadar would die. The Federation and the Klingons greatly lacked the heavy ships capable of accomplishing such a mission. Limited to Galaxy and Negvar ships, which were already greatly overstretched in their respective battle groups, and the Sovereign was still in early life and not yet in wide-scale deployment. The further issue the Federation had during the Dominion War was also being spread far too thin, defending its own borders and keeping an eye on the Romulan border, making Starfleet aware they had far too many obligations and too few resources. Other forces, such as the Defiant, lacked the long-term operational range and sufficient numbers. The Akira class, whilst it had more than enough firepower, was still a fragile ship by itself. A new ship was needed. To exploit the Achilles heel, from which the class name was derived, a ship that would combine the agility, firepower, and range to accomplish the goal, without compromising on a crew's necessities, or current battle groups by diminishing numbers. Utopia Planitia Fleet Yards fulfilled the challenge of not only designing an entirely new class, but had it built and launched in under 2 years. These guys are quick. Achilles is easier and faster to construct than the equally capable, yet much larger, Galaxy and Sovereign class. Specified as a long-range, multi-purpose and hard-hitting heavy cruiser, capable of strategic strikes, with little to no escort, similar to the Prometheus class. What is it with Starfleet giving us these really cool ships and we never see them again? I mean, seriously. The designs follow the lineage of the Intrepid and Sovereign classes, being that the primary hull and engineering sections are directly connected, with no neck weakness, as seen on many previous starships. The nacelles are in line with the saucer section, keeping the profile streamlined from most angles. With a size of 612 meters long, 272 meters wide, and 67 meters high, it was divided into 14 decks. Small and sleek, the Achilles was a far cry from the supersized Dominion ships. However, it was equipped with systems originally intended for the Defiant, but given the massive issues the Defiant had had during its development, it was easy to see why they held back on them and put them for use in a larger warship. Other tech included adapting existing anti-Borg technology, such as repulsed cannons and Class 1 ablative hull armor, new retro thrusters for hero maneuverability, and redundant warp and impulse systems, allowing for heavier damage and still being able to retreat to safe harbor should primary systems fail. It also has an unsupported self-service range of a Galaxy class, a long-range attack roll, and the firepower of the Sovereign, all of which is beneficial to operate effectively behind Dominion lines. Boasting 8 pulse phaser cannons, 4 Type 12 phaser arrays, 2 quantum/photon torpedo launchers, and 8 quantum micro torpedo launchers, it was a beast, the latter of which is a prototype phalanx array mounted along the spine of the hull, covering the entire dorsal range of the ship. It's giving it a unique firing arc for torpedoes during an attack run, avoiding the need to fly directly at or away from enemy vessels, which proved extremely effective in making short work of Hutet class ships. The array allows a ship to combat multiple enemies, whilst focusing forward weapons on a single target. Star Trek Online lists the phaser Hexa cannons as a prototype design. These build upon the original concept for the USS Defiant's phase quad cannons. The Hexa cannons fire even more bursts of heavy damage than the original quad version. Meanwhile, the micro quantum torpedo array allowed the ship to launch a massive number of micro torpedoes that made landing consecutive hits a serious threat. These torpedoes are mounted on the spine of a ship, allowing the torpedoes to launch upwards and then turn towards their targets. The prototype Achilles class deployed for field testing performed extremely well, destroying 2 key facilities within a single mission behind enemy lines. It also accounted for 2 full Cardassian attack wings as well as nearly 20 Jem'Hadar strike cruisers, the best record for any single ship that participated during the war. However successful, a number of problems were identified when the Achilles returned to Utopia Planitia following the war's conclusion for refitting. The remainder of the hull was outfitted with non-warfare facilities that would have been standard on any other Starfleet design, such as science labs, holodecks, and ship-wide holo emitters. She was retasked with system patrols and deep space exploration, then moved out to further field testing, closing in 2375. Okay, time for a little Star Trek theory. We know how anyone that has anything to do with anything Trek ever has the need, the right, and the thrill of creating something new for not only themselves, but the fans too. The Achilles is no doubt built with the sole purpose of being an anti-Dominion type class. Therefore, introducing it into the game aptly named Dominion Wars was the time to do so. So, why didn't we see it in the series, or even another type of anti-Dominion ship with these types of abilities? Sure, the Deep Space Nine series had already ended, and the game would have been out for another 2 years following a finale. But not only was the ship larger and as agile as the Defiant, she was clearly better equipped to single-handedly blindside an unsuspecting opponent of massive proportions, where the Defiant class USS Valiant failed abysmally against the same ships the Achilles was built to fight. True, she was manned by a crew of Red Squad cadets, but still it wasn't up to the job herself. With that in mind, the series creators likely did not want to overshadow the hero class of the series and make its role redundant, possibly why another Greek-named starship, the USS Prometheus, was introduced later in Star Trek Voyager. Maybe in universe it was inspired by the Achilles, which by the Deep Space Nine novel, The Long Mirage, was still in service by the 2380s. Then, for the game, the Achilles was inspired by the Prometheus, going by their respective release dates. But it's all just an idea, it's fun to think about. The Achilles is an overpowered ship for a Star Trek game, but such a ship may be toned down, could make it on screen. One of the main similarities with this ship, compared to new ships in shows such as Star Trek Picard, is the Achilles deflector dish, which is remarkably similar to the deflector grille seen on the Inquiry class. As I mentioned earlier, I can see how the Achilles class could evolve into the Inquiry class. That's rather than going back to Utopia, which you know would have been destroyed in the 2380s, it rather went off to another shipyard elsewhere, which would produce the Inquiry class starships later on. Just a thought. We've also recently seen ships from games, such as Star Trek Online, appear in the shows, with Star Trek Picard Season 2 having the Ross, Reliant, Gagarin, and Sutherland class appearing. In Season 3 of Picard, many Star Trek Online ships once again appeared on screen, including the Pathfinder class taking the role of the USS Voyager B. Obviously this can work a little easier for Star Trek Online due to the high details of the ship models. Even they need to be upgraded to have a visual accuracy to match the shows. It would be great if future Star Trek productions could also include these iconic ships, like the Achilles, Typhon, and Premonition class. Speaking of those other ships, don't worry, we'll have videos on those soon. That's our new video on the Achilles class starship. It's yours to command in Star Trek Online right now. So if you want to check it out, then jump into game today. Thankfully, it's available by the C-Store in game. Yes, that does mean you have to buy real money, but it's slightly better than it being behind the lockbox mechanic of purchasing keys for the chance, and I stress chance, of getting a ship. But for now, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or come and hang out on our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.